what Bluetooth or what FM? Okay, it's gonna be FM.
FM. No, thank you.
Actually, before we get to Mary's motion, I'd like to give Mr. Lewis a chance to come on up if would like to just respond to some of the thoughts and concerns that members of the board have raised tonight.
Was any legitimate concern about the viewing around in regards to being able to see the screens in the distance? The final stake in the ground would be a perimeter fence. It's a movie studio, so that is inevitable. But right now, it's not affordable. It's 160 grand. So would we like to do that right now? Absolutely. Nip it in the bud, but we just can't do it right now. And that's the only thing that I really can't refute. The sound issue in regards to piping the audio into the car, that's a matter of advising people to bring a Bluetooth device and then turn the car off. Most households have exterior Bluetooth devices. I got 3 of them sitting right now in the studio in my office. So, I mean, that shouldn't be an issue. And in regards to the evergreens being planted in the places that you guys are suggesting, we do not own that property. So are you suggesting that we pay for the planting taking place, or I would like an answer to that question.
Gary?
Yeah, I looked at the aerial photos of the property, Mr. Lewis, and there are areas that accommodate plantings on your property.
Oh, on our?
Yes, definitely.
And where would that be?
Well, there's room, you have 30 feet between your parking lot and your west property line. And plus the interior islands that we recommend are on your property. So 2 locations.
Oh, some islands.
Yep. So yeah, we feel that there can be some at least protection for that one residence to the west and has a clear view of the property, that island location, and there's room on your property.
Okay. And you're speaking of the island that's in the direct corner on the west side?
There are actually 2 islands that are available.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that solves that.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Lewis? If not, okay, Mary.
I move the Delta Township Board deny the special land use permit for an outdoor commercial recreational facility requested for the establishment of a drive-in movie complex as described in case number 05-21-07 for the following reasons. 1, not all of the specific use standards in section 8.19 can be met. There may be excessive traffic on the adjacent public and private roadways entering and leaving the site before and after show times. This could possibly result in disquieting effects on the adjacent residential area to the west of the subject parcel. 2 of the proposed screens can easily be viewed from the adjacent roadway, which may result in unsafe distractions to passing motorists. 2, the special land use standards set forth in section 7.03 of the Delta Township zoning ordinance have not been met. The use is not in character with the long-established residential neighborhood immediately to the west of the subject parcel, in that the use would operate long outside hours into the night and may involve large volumes of traffic. The light emitted from the proposed westernmost screen may result in a nuisance to the residents abutting the subject parcel on the west.
Is there support?
Can I just ask one more question?
Well, first, I think we got to see if there's a support for just me. There's support.
No, at this time, yeah. I support Mary's motion.
Okay, the motion dies for lack of support. Gary?
Oh, well, I was going to say, instead of 3 screens, is there a way that you can make one screen a little better, and at least you can have one screen? I don't know if they have thought of that, or as
the board, you're permitted any alterations to the recommended motions, additional stipulations. You think that fencing is a solution to the issues you've raised, you can mandate it now. Mr. Lewis has indicated he doesn't have funding for that, but you would have to wait until he could execute it. The special land use permit is valid for 2 years, so he would have time to do it. It's more time, I think, that he wants to wait, but he would be afforded time to again try to procure funding for meeting the stipulations in order to operate this particular activity on this.
Instead of denying it tonight, could we just refer it back to the planning commission to continue to work on some of these issues that have been raised? But
That's also a possibility.
I think that that could potentially be a good solution to keep the dialogue going and see if there's ways to solve some of this stuff as opposed to just necessarily rejecting it tonight. Let them continue to work on meeting that.
Thank you. I have a question too.
Sure. Go ahead, Dennis.
Maybe it's directed more towards Harry. So you just said that, well, he has 2 years to fulfill a special land use permit, otherwise it expires. I heard you right, did I?
Correct. Then
So,
you can ask for an extension for a single year after that period.
so that's true with all our special land use permits?
Correct.
Okay.
If there's no activity for the operation, the particular use that's requested, in a 2-year period, it expires.
Is there any other ability to do something like this without it being a land use permit?
No, so this is classified under an umbrella of uses of outdoor commercial recreation, and drive-ins are specifically listed under that. As a special land.
Okay. And I just know that I believe that the character of that property, the Lansing Mall especially, is going to change dramatically probably in our lifetime. I don't know any of us that really know how that will evolve. But I do like the uniqueness of this. I know there's understandable concerns and problems that I think need to be addressed maybe better. And I'm hesitant in objecting this because I don't want to discourage new and fresh thinking from our residents that are thinking and proposing stuff that's out of the box. I mean, that's what will make Delta a fun and unique place to live and reside and recreate. So I don't want to put the kibosh on this, but I just think maybe there needs to be a little rethink and a review again on the staff level with the owner and the planning commission to see if there's a way they can make this work.
So I'm hearing from the board, I'm looking at head nods, that the main concerns have to do with the visibility of screens from both the roadway and the adjacent neighborhood. And then possibly some traffic.
Yeah, I'll say something else. That glare thing, that's a whole myth. I don't know who did the research on that, but it's being projected onto the building. It's not a screen, so there's no glare. I don't understand where that's coming from.
And maybe that's a technical approach that can be explored because there's wide angles of view with some technologies and less than others. And, I'm not that familiar with it, but I know that exists. So those are the types of questions that maybe could be further discussed.
Karen?
I would just like to say that this is a businessman who has decided to make his home and invest here in Delta. And he has not asked the township for any kind of special treatment, any kind of tax abatements, anything like that. He bought a disused building. He's putting a thriving business in there, investing his time and his money. And as Dennis said, bringing something very novel to here. I think that attendance at the outdoor movie theaters will be dictated by parking spots. They'll only be able to have as many people there as they have parking spots. So I think that saying there's going to be a lot of excessive traffic, I don't think it'll be any more than the traffic from the movie theater at the back of the mall that we already have there. And I for one, would be happy to make this motion tonight and vote on this tonight. And I believe in the staff and that they have done their due diligence. And, I think it's part of our responsibility for economic development. If that's something that we want to do, we want to support our business owners and we should move forward with this.
Thank you. Karen?
Just to be clear, if based on how it is, that's why I was saying that I would support, but I do also support us postponing, bringing this back to the table. But subsequent question is have you actually tried out, and I don't know, because I don't know how that all goes, but have you actually tried out I mean, I don't know if you got the equipment, if you actually like projected it, how does it look? I don't know if you've done a run like, I don't even know if that's the right question.
Yeah, we've done the research. We've gone out there and based on where they're positioned, there's only so many people who can see from a distance, from certain angles. It goes for every spot that they're placed on the building. And from Logan's, that's where I discovered the place in the first place. And from that window that you could see the building, if you could see the film that far, cool. The only thing that I can't again refute is the immediate, around it immediately that people can walk by or whatever and see the screens. The only thing to resolve that is a perimeter fence, period. So, I agree on that. So when you guys brought it up, I was back there thinking, yeah, okay. So, but that, again, that's something that's been thought about and talked about. And the only way to get around that is putting up a fence.
Mhm.
And so that's not in our wheelhouse right now. So.
Maybe staff, were there any other surrounding businesses that expressed any concern or?
No businesses on trustee Fion or treasurer Fion. We had two citizens speak during the planning commission meeting. We saw that in the proceedings, two local residents.
Right.
That was.
And just to follow up, you said it was going to be an FM.
Yes, sir.
audio. Now
Yep.
that's much further radius than a Bluetooth. So theoretically, depending on how strong the signal is, I don't know how much control there is of a signal that you can get on your radio that doesn't transgress over into surrounding parking lots, for example, where people could watch movies for free, things like that. That would be a concern I would have as a business.
But if you're talking about watching movies for free from across the street at the mall, there are trees blocking the visual of that particular screen. So
Okay.
if you want to do that and you can get away with it, more power to you. I bring you some popcorn. And in regards to the Volunteers of America's empty lot that's next to there, they have 4 containers blocking, obstructing view,
Mhm.
and again, the fence would fix that in regards to that. But yeah, I mean, people, we'll have staff or security or whatever around to deal with that. But I mean, it's a basic.
Well, I would love to see some.
Every movie theater, matter of fact, people come in there all the time when they get nostalgia and see what we're doing to the place and say, yeah, I mean, we used to sneak into that one and go to this one. That's gonna happen. There's nothing we can do about it other than walk around and
I
secure the
appreciate
place.
your enthusiasm and positive outlook.
I'm a comic, so I have no choice.
I'd like to make the motion.
Sure.
I move that the Delta Township Board approve the special land use permit for an outdoor commercial recreational facility requested for the establishment of a drive-in movie complex as described in case number 05-21-07, subject to the following conditions. Driving guests shall be required to remain in their vehicles unless they are utilizing the restrooms and or concession stands within the building. The applicant shall be required to consult with staff to create and submit a landscaping plan that provides ground cover on parking islands that are not currently landscaped and the planting of evergreen trees on the western berm and in the parking island to the north of the ticket stand. Required landscaping improvements and existing landscaping shall be maintained in perpetuity. The use of a restroom trailer shall not be permitted. Guests will be required to use restrooms on the interior of the building. The parking lot shall be repaired and restriped prior to commencement of drive-in use at the determination of the zoning administrator. And the parking lot shall be cleaned of litter debris at the end of every night the drive-in is in operation.
Is there support?
I will support that.
There is support. We'll put it up for discussion.
I think we just should do a straw. We should vote on it. And if it fails, then we would instruct staff to send it back to reconsider it in the planning commission.
Well, go ahead, Mary.
It would be a different proposal.
I still object to the fact that we cannot control what is shown and the exposure of inappropriate movies. I think as a township board, we do have some civic responsibility.
Mhm. Any other comments?
Well, I don't disagree with that, Mary. What if I wanted to, in my own residence, put up a sheet and show movies of whatever I wanted, and it was objectable to someone else, that would be considered free speech, right? Or not?
That's why we can't control it.
But not necessarily, I'm not sure. Gary, if somebody in their house started projecting something objectionable on the side of their house, would there be any recourse?
Yeah, I'm not a civil rights or free speech attorney, but you have to believe you have certain rights as a citizen. You know, just like you can put different types of signage in front of your house and be similar to that.
But, and this is the heart of the discussion and concern, is that the township, the governmental unit has absolutely no recourse whatsoever. If one person's complaining, it doesn't meet the reasonable person test is really what sort of the rule of thumb is. And when it becomes like an annoyance, a nuisance, and a lot of people really started coming out of the woodwork, I just find it hard the township would be powerless.
Well, we're not, yeah, I don't know if, anyone, we could probably bring some action to attempt to control it. Are we going to be successful? I don't know. That's a big question. Do you want to take that step to litigate that?
I think that the business model will be altered as consumers make their choices of what movies they want to see, when they want to go, if they want to go or not. I don't see this as a huge problem. They say 3 screens now, they might find that they only need 1. They might find that they have a broader appeal if they do all G movies or all PG movies, because it'll be more families who come in. So I think that we will allow the market to correct itself and the business to decide, and the community to decide.
Comments? Well, if there's no other comments, I'll just comment that I'm definitely open to the idea of allowing discussions to continue. As far as on the comments that he's not asking for anything special, he's asking for a special land use permit. It's not allowed right now under the current zoning, so he is asking for something special. And I think that there's folks on this board that by not supporting a motion to reject it, deny it tonight, was showing that we're open to having this dialogue continue. So I think it's kind of odd that we're forcing a vote on voting yes on this tonight, when it became kind of clear through the discussion that I doubt there will be the votes here tonight. But if that's the desire to go forward, then I guess we can have a vote and reject it tonight. I'm just not sure I'd support referring it anywhere after tonight.
If I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
And we would table this, and we don't
The
have.
motion to table is always
Right, and we don't have a full board here, and so I feel this is probably appropriate to have a full board involved in this discussion. So I'd be amenable just to table the motion.
Are you making that motion?
All right.
Until the next meeting.
No, you don't get to do that.
A motion to table, I thought was always in order.
It requires a vote.
Requires a vote, but it's always appropriate.
I'll have to research it more. I don't know when you can take it off the table.
Well,
Well,
then,
you can either table it to the next meeting or to a date certain, or you can just table it indefinitely. That's
Right.
the option.
I believe it's in order motion.
So your motion is to table it till the next meeting, and are you supporting the motion?
yes.
It's been moved and supported to, and it's not a debatable motion. It's been ordered, it's been moved to table until the next meeting. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Are you specifying a board meeting or are you talking
Committee
about
of the
committee of the whole?
I'm guessing you're saying the next board meeting.
Well, it would be a board meeting where we take action.
Yes, we should vote on this.
So our next,
It's 2 weeks from today, so it's the
Right.
20th.
the 20th, okay.
Or, well, it'd be the 19th
The 19th.
because it's
So the
Monday.
motion is tabled until January 19th.
I'm good.
July.
Yeah.
Trustee Fedewa,
I'm sorry.
Yes.
trustee Bowen,
Yes.
trustee Cascarella, trustee Mohica,
Yes,
Clerk Clark is no. Supervisor Fletcher.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We are tabled, so we'll be back on July 19th.
But I'm good.
Thank you.
Get to the next spot. Our next item is the discussion of the policy there so that we can allow for board members in the military to participate by Zoom if need be. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm moving forward. Manager's report. Yeah, I didn't have it in front of me. My memory, I'm looking next was off.
Thanks, Mr. Supervisor and board members. It's nice to be back in person. However, I had the first bug with our system and the fact that I had a setting so there wasn't sound for the people on Zoom for the first little part of the meeting. Fortunately, it was all staff members and trustee Brewer on the Zoom, but the sound has been restored as I've been texted. So with my report, Ernie and Rick gave an update on the wastewater plant. We did submit our SRF funding, revised funding to the state. So that is in. If you did not happen to see on Facebook, we did make the finalists for the Michigan Municipal League Community of Excellence Award for the Waverly Pathways. We're one of 4 finalists. So that will be a competition at the annual convention, MML convention, which is September 22nd to 24th. So I think the registration starts for that here pretty soon. If you are interested in going to that. Just FYI, the fire station 1, the re-roofing project will be starting in August. For those interested, Eaton Conservation District is having an open house tomorrow from 4 to 7 at the courthouse. So they're celebrating their 75th anniversary. So they sent an invitation. As I mentioned, anytime between 4 and 7. And I can send you more information on that. Michigan Avenue project, I think is pretty well done from Canal to Snow Road. They were working on the snow to Waverly today. That should be wrapping up here soon. So the section of the road that's been completed in the road diet, I think looks pretty nice. I drove it today. If you remember, we had the property donation discussion up on North Waverly a couple meetings ago. So we started doing the legal and the due diligence, and the property owner called me today and said that they called their realtor to say it was off the market, that they were donating it to the township, and the realtor said, well, I'll buy it from you. And so he informed me today that they are selling it to the realtor. I don't know if it's fortunate or unfortunate, just quite a bit of work. But anyways, last not good news are Nate Foltz, our plumbing and mechanical inspector, had an accident this weekend and broke his back. So he will be out of action. Luckily, I spoke to his wife today, who was in to see Linda to talk about FMLA and that type of thing. He's doing fairly well. He had an 8-hour operation this weekend. So he is our busiest inspector. He does 2 trades. So if you remember, luckily a few months ago, we did create an agreement with City of East Lansing. So they've been helping us with some emergency inspections. Matt, our building director, is looking at some other options. So we'll probably bring on somebody part-time in the meantime, in addition to East Lansing, to help cover a lot of those inspections and keep these inspections going. So just keep Nate in your thoughts. That is all I have for the board, but happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Folks have questions for Brian.
I have one. Brian, when is the fence for the recycling center going to be repaired?
I'll refer that to Marcus. That was just hit again.
It was.
So, yeah, so I don't know if you're thinking about, that's the second time it's been hit by a motorist. So it was repaired the first time, correct, Marcus? Or what, or wasn't?
No, we were on the list to be repaired as most local contractors were backed up. And as Brian mentioned a week or two ago, it was hit again. That area seems to be a drag race area out there. And hopefully this time, because the car remained after everyone took off, they're able to find out who did it. The first time the car was able to move and keep on. So we're forced with the challenges of how do we better protect it. I mean, we don't want to put any boulders out, but yeah, so it's been hit
All they have
twice.
to do is race from the other way, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, apparently that road is must be pretty attractive for that type of racing, but so to answer your question, we're hopefully get it done here soon.
All right,
Still on the list.
Thanks, I just noticed it.
Any other questions? Brian? Continue on with the agenda. Now we're moving to the committee of the whole items, and the first item for tonight is the CIA discussion. So Brian, I'm assuming you'll lead that since I don't see Suzanne.
Sure, yes, Suzanne is not here, but as we had mentioned this at the previous meetings a couple of times, a joint meeting between the CIA board and the township board. We have the first CIA board meeting scheduled for next Monday, and this would be September July 22nd at 6 p.m. where we'd have a joint meeting between the township board and the CIA board and would work through the agenda that Suzanne has listed here in her memo.
Did you say the CIA board is meeting next Monday?
Correct.
Their first meeting?
They're correct.
is
Their
it
first meeting.
During our meeting?
No, it's it'll be at 3 p.m.
Okay.
It would be nice for the board to get notices of those meetings as a matter of practice. So if we wish to, we could observe. So I'm making that request.
Sure.
If everybody agrees, just so we're aware. I do have a comment on this. A question really, if I may. Is this meeting, the first one, going to be an orientation meeting then for them, the authority members? Exactly what is a CIA? What are they supposed to be doing? You know, what is their realm of work? Basically a fundamental orientation session.
And so the regular days and times.
Yeah. Is that what that is?
Yeah, and as Supervisor Fletcher mentioned, also to figure out when are the most ideal times to meet and that type of thing, so.
And how long is that meeting supposed to be?
Well, it starts at 3, I guess,
Whenever they.
to question mark TBD.
So Suzanne's gonna help lead that?
Correct.
Okay, all right. As far as the date, I'm fine with the date. The 22nd.
Everybody else agreeable with the date and holding a joint meeting?
Do you want to reserve this room or just see if this room is available, or have you already done that?
I have not done that. I can do that right now.
I don't have access to that calendar, so I can't help you.
It is available. Thank you, Mary.
Mhm.
Okay, well, since it looks like there's no objections, we'll move forward with that, Brian, and hold that meeting on that date. Now, moving on with item number 6, the updated rules of procedure discussion regarding the board meeting. And I believe oh, no, that was the purple sheet. Brian, want to walk us through the changes?
Sure, since we were going back into person, a couple years ago, they did make a change to allow for military members to access meetings remotely if they're on active duty. So they recommended changes. Alana drew up these, the language for these. And we just recommended also some additional changes to our current rules of procedure as outlined in my memo. Some of them relate to the change to live streaming our meetings and a retention schedule, which there is, the state does not require you to keep recordings of meetings. So based on the last discussion, we put in a recommendation to retain these meetings for a year. A couple other changes that I had heard in the past in terms of the public comment minutes and the first public comment period, taking away or not making it based on non-agenda items, just general public comment for both of the public comment periods, and keeping them consistent with 3 minutes. And then the last change was in regards to the supervisor we had in the policy, the rules of procedure. Previously, the supervisor was not supposed to make motions, which is inconsistent with what the Township Association says. We just proposed taking out that section.
Mary?
I also have another thing that needs to be corrected. Page, we don't have page numbers. 8.1 and 8.2 are in conflict with each other. So I recommend taking out the first sentence in 8.2. 8.1 reflects what we actually do, and it is mid-legal, not our legal counsel, but another legal counsel's recommendation that we abide by 8.1. Regarding what's in a minute, but then record of discussion is different. I mean, like I said, we're in conflict.
What is the recommendation of MTA when it comes to minutes with including discussion, like the discussion that we had today, as opposed to just who voted what? Is there a recommendation from MTA?
Yeah, I believe the recommendation is just motions and.
Okay.
Yeah, but legally you have to display the tally, the outcome. Like tonight, my no vote would go on record.
Mhm. So, but since we're going to record all the meetings and keep them for a year, then we don't necessarily need a written record of the discussion and comments, because the discussion and comments would be available to the public that way.
Well, you have two things. You got your minutes, your written record, and then
Right.
the recording is just recording. The recording is not ever meant to be the official record of the
Never.
meeting.
No.
So I'm not sure there is a conflict between these two.
Well, maintain a written record of discussion,
Which is the minutes.
but it says shall maintain a written record of the discussion or comments in 8.2. 8.1, we do just the motions. We don't include
Oh, I got you.
discussion. And then I have one more just observation if we're done with that issue.
Yeah, go ahead.
Under 2.4, I didn't realize this. We cannot take up an item even if it's on the agenda after 10 o'clock at night. I guess that's to make you hurry along.
Okay.
Is that a problem?
Well, I just thought it was an odd rule. I'm just pointing out, I think it's an odd rule, but
Well,
That's
remember
fine.
though, when these were originally drafted, there was a board that prided itself on 10-minute meetings. So I can't imagine that they'd ever want to go past 10 o'clock.
I just think that's.
Wouldn't fly in Meridian Township.
There is. Ann Arbor goes till after midnight
Yeah,
typically. So the other one was my only, the 8.1 and 8.2 were my only serious changes.
However, I would say, except by a majority vote of the members present. So obviously the board could go past 10 o'clock and 10 too.
Right.
Dennis?
So because we're saving our recordings so the public can actually see it. I don't have a problem with getting rid of it, omitting the conflict, with the discussion for the official written minutes. Notwithstanding that we're keeping the recordings. But we had left it for the duration of the recordings to be kept and determining what other surrounding communities were doing. And are you suggesting that our surrounding communities are only keeping their recordings for 1 year? Because I know that's not true.
No, I'll let Alana speak to that. She researched the other communities.
I did reach out to various other communities, probably 7 others in the surrounding area, and none could tell me what their policy was. They couldn't find their policy, so they don't have a policy on retention of audio or visual recordings.
Well, I know at least 2 keep them in perpetuity.
Yeah.
Meridian and
Yes.
Bath Township.
Portland has VHS, so if that tells you
I
anything.
mean, because of the
Yeah.
lack of a policy, they just keep them. And it's not an issue of storage capacity either, from my understanding. So I just think 1 year is just too short a period. I really do. Maybe it should be through a full term of a board.
Yeah.
For 4 years. I'm not necessarily saying it has to be in perpetuity, but I think 1 year is just too short a time.
I guess, go ahead, Mary.
Well, that would be kind of odd. So then, once this was passed, a meeting could be kept for 3 years and 5 months. If it was the July meeting, but the December meeting of 2023 would be, no, that would be the new year. November, first meeting in November, after it's done, then it would be wiped because it's the end of a term.
But
So is that your point?
My point being is that ideally, I think it should be for 5 years at a minimum, because it would be for the whole. And I'm thinking at the beginning of term of office for the trustees. And that would be a year after that the discarding of the recordings. I mean, there's just no way to then say, what's the track record of a board member? And their concerns that they brought to the table, and there's just nothing, or the board as a whole. After a year, it's gone, so it's committed to, like, so-and-so made a motion and it passed or failed, yay and nay, by X amount of votes. And that doesn't tell you anything. And the whole purpose of the recordings is to allow people, present or virtually, is to see how their township government functions and how it's run and what the concerns are. A lot of these issues are not simple. There's a lot of gray area. I mean, we just had that discussion with the outdoor movie proposal before us. And I think that gives the public a real better viewing picture of the types of issues that come before the board and things that they probably don't even or would think about, how it could affect the course of business of the township and its residents. So I think that a 1 year is just too short. I think there's a number of issues that should be held on the record. So I'm proposing 5 years. I know the surrounding communities are perpetual. And I'm willing to compromise at 5, but 1 year I just think is inadequate.
Are you proposing 5 years from the date of recording?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alana, did you talk to Dave about what the storage capacity would be required to store that much? Or did he have any ideas for, putting it in the cloud, putting it on YouTube, anything like that? Have we gotten to that discussion yet?
There has been discussion, YouTube would be where we would store everything.
Okay, so we wouldn't be taking up space on our servers or anything like that. So,
It's immaterial.
yeah, so, yeah. Just a matter of,
I guess it
Putting
boils
them up
down
there.
to what's the purpose. The record is the minutes. That's the well-established official record on how people vote and what's going on. And I'm supportive of the idea of giving the public a chance to watch and participate when they can't come here physically, and to issues last multiple meetings and be able to go back and catch up and see what's going on. But what I'm hearing tonight is that the purpose is politics, that the purpose is we want stuff out there for campaigns and elections. So it's becoming a political discussion and not a policy discussion at this point, that it appears that that's the real goal, is to somehow turn our board recordings into a political tool that can become fodder for elections and stuff. And I'm not sure if that's the purpose of recording. The purpose of recording and broadcasting is to allow public engagement. So I guess I'm not sure what the intention is here and whether or not I support the intention of what we're doing.
Well, if I may, it's not the intention if that was implied. It's not what the intent is, but I mean, look, if you want to look at best practices, look at our surrounding communities. They're recording and they keep them in perpetuity. And we are, a township of our size and sophistication, are just now addressing this. I just think it's, I'm kind of embarrassed. And, if there's politics in these other townships, it surely didn't sway their boards to say, well, no, we're going to discard these things after 6 months or a year. And they don't. None of them do. They keep them forever. And I'm not suggesting we keep them forever. I'm just, because there seemed to be some hesitancy. I don't mind keeping them forever because it's not a storage issue at all. But again, I think the purpose is, even from a historical point of view, or a decision a board makes, that it's not the official record, but it gives a sense of what the discussion and the issues were in determining how the board came to its decision. That's what it's all about. And it's simple openness and transparency.
yes. Transparency, accountability, I see it as part of our responsibility to engage the public, to have those records there so that someone is thinking about running for office in the future. They can go through the recordings, they can see how the meetings are conducted, they can see the history of how decisions have been made, where we have gotten to. And I think that is part of our responsibility, our civic responsibility within a democracy, to allow people to view that and have that transparency of how we are conducting business on their behalf and how they can participate in it as well.
They will have a chance to review it.
Mhm.
If you're looking for candidates, once again, politics is yours to go. Karen, did you have something that you wanted to add in?
Oh, you answered one of them, but honestly, I just wanted to say I was glad to see this. The memorandum about the military, so I just wanted to say thank you and the staff for doing that, because it means a lot, to me. So that was really, everything else was answered, or anything else I wanted to ask. So.
Well, I don't think we're going to get a consensus on 1 year that being proposed or the 5 years that Dennis's want tonight, unless I'm misreading what I'm hearing here. So I think we probably should just kick this to the next meeting when we have everybody here.
Well, I didn't realize it was clear that there was more change than just this one part, because this was the only one part that was highlighted. And so I looked through it, but I didn't know what was new and what had been changed.
Yeah, Mary Orland had sent out an email today. I apologize for that. It's just, we did a track changes and put it, I think, in the process of converting it to Adobe. It compressed things that we eliminated. It
I
only
see.
included things that we added.
I see the little marks.
So she sent it out. So I apologize, but I did list most of those in the memo that was with it.
Okay.
I think the only one not in the memo was the one that I found.
Well, let's defer this to a meeting when we got everybody here and continue this discussion. Since continue that.
Is it for Mary's change, but when we bring this back to include that as well as part of the changes to the.
Part of the discussion.
So I think that's the end of our agenda. Did anybody have anything else this evening?
I had one comment.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that when I said that Mr. Lewis had not asked this board for anything, I meant that previous to his request for the special permit, he had not been here. He had not asked for a TIF. He had not asked us to put together any kind of special assessment or do anything with his property taxes. So I just wanted to say that.
Okay, anybody else on the board? Any final public comment? Well, seeing none and seeing no further business before us, we are adjourned.
Three more.